Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the channel. A little bit of a different subject we're going to talk about today, and that is rust. Alright, so we've got the set of Pullman cars that I bought at the last train show here, and we're going to deal with the rust. So I got a couple different stages that I want to show you. This one being the original condition. And all I did was I took a bit of a wire wheel on my Dremel tool and did a quick buffing to get a lot of the heavy staining off. And then I actually applied just some turtle wax on this. So this is the original paint. Pretty scuffed up looking, little bit of turtle wax. You know, it's not museum quality, but it's also not that bad either. But one of the others I cleaned off completely and repainted all together. Got a brand new coat of paint on it, but just on the roof. Because the body actually doesn't bother me at all. I think that's fine. So, what I'm going to do now, seeing the difference between these two, I mean, that was fine, but this looks so much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be painting all three of them. But what I really want to start with is this one. So this was by far the worst. Again, the body itself, really not that bad. Kind of dirty. We're going to give it a bit of a wash with some dish detergent and hot water and a little scrub brush. I already did that on this particular car, and as you can see, the decals are all still there, all still intact. So I know I don't have to worry about that. The other thing we're going to be doing to this is we're going to be getting the rust off of these rollers, off of the coupler, and whatever else we can find that needs a little bit of cleaning. The point of this was, I got all three of these cars for $10. They're all complete, they've all got their couplers, they're working, they don't have the lights in them, they're not the lit versions, but that's okay. But for $10, you just can't go wrong with that. And it's certainly worth putting a wire brush to and cleaning it up. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get this screw out of here. And I am going to take this outside with the wire wheel on my drill. And I am going to clean this off. I do want to try to preserve the underside of this. Again, that is original paint. And the underside is in perfect shape. I mean, other than this little corner here, so it kind of looks like it sat in some water upside down or something. I don't know what it did. Anyways, you know, and even matching up the original color to the new one, that's close. That is really close. So what this was, this color is Tamiya or Tamiya, however you guys want to pronounce it. But it is the British Green, the TS9 spray can. That's what I used. That's what I used on this car. I also have about 6 coats of Rust-Oleum Hunter Green underneath it. That was the color I originally was going to go with, but it's not even that it was off. It just looked horrible. So I found this Tamiya paint, painted it over, and as you can tell, it is a really close match, if not right on match, to the original dark green that these roofs were. So, like I said, let's take this outside. I'm going to hit it with a wire wheel, get all of this heavy rust off, then we'll bring it in, we'll probably get the Dremel, and we'll do some sanding to get rid of this rust altogether. So, let's get on that right now. Okay, so here we have both of the roofs buffed off with the wire wheel on the hand drill. This was the bad one. And you can see it was pretty bad. So that pitting is very deep. It hasn't rotted through, but it probably wasn't too far off of it anyways. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to use my Dremel right here. And I think I'm going to try this sanding wheel to get a little bit more of this off. And I think I might be ending up using some JB Weld to fill that in, smooth it down, and see if I can kind of tame this horrible pitting down a little bit. I don't have any Bondo. I'm not going to go out and buy some just for this, because then it'll sit forever with me. This one turned out fantastic. You can see there's still a little bit of staining from the rust, but that'll buff out for sure, no problem with the Dremel. Smooth that up, and we can hit this one with some primer. And the original inside colors both stayed intact on these, so I want to try to maintain that. Let's get the Dremel hooked up, and I am going to see what I can do about this pitting. So here we are. We've used the Dremel a little bit. It brought it down somewhat. Did quite well on this corner here, but this is pretty bad still. But I'm thinking, because it did manage to get a little bit of material off, maybe if I pull out a palm sander with some 120 grit, maybe that can work that down. Because it did start to bring it down a little bit with the Dremel. The Dremel is just, the disc is too small and it just doesn't have enough guts for it. So let's see what happens. I'll either wear it down a little bit or I'll wear a hole through it. We'll find out. I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but that pitting came down quite a bit with the palm sander without going through the material. And I think that's really looking really good. The ridge is rough. This little section in here where I couldn't really get the sander in too well, same down here, that's still pretty rough, but compared to what this top surface was, this is a huge improvement. So I'm wondering if I just get a little bit of JB Weld and just kind of smooth that over and then give it a sanding tomorrow. I think I'll be able to salvage this roof. Well, I'm going to be able to salvage it regardless, but make it look a little bit better. Because if I was to paint that now, I mean, I'd have to put a pretty heavy coat of paint on there to fill in those pits and make it relatively smooth on that one side. So I'm going to try the JB Weld trick, put some of that in, smooth it out, come back tomorrow and give it a sand, and hopefully it'll come up looking like this one. I mean, this one's got a little bit of pitting at this end as well, but that's not bad at all. I can live with that. But let's give that a try. Let's mix up some JB Weld, spread it over this, come back tomorrow, give it a sanding, and see where we're at before we hit it with some paint. I got the JB Weld put on, like a thin Bondo layer, filling up a lot of these little pits in this area. We're going to try to repair that ridge as well. Hopefully this will work. What do you guys think? Some of you are probably already thinking you've just wasted some JB Weld and ruined a perfectly good roof. Maybe so, but for $10, it's worth playing around with to see if I can bring this back to life. All right, so we're just going to let this sit, and we'll come back tomorrow, hit it with some sandpaper, and we'll see what we got. 3, 4. So here we are the next day. The JB Weld has dried nicely. So I'm going to sand this down. Damn it, I missed that spot. Oh well. I'm going to sand this down, make it smooth again, and we are going to go ahead and hit it with the first coat of primer and green. So for that I'm using this here, and this is totally the wrong color. It looks nothing like this at all when it's dry, but that's okay. I'm going to use it as a primer and a good base before I hit it with this British green from Tamiya, or Tamiya, whatever you want to say it, because this does match up really well with the original color. So let's get to some sanding. We have the sanded roof now. What I'm going to be doing next is, so I was using 100 grit to take down the JB Weld. And I think I want to polish this up just a little bit, so I'm going to switch to some, I think, maybe 150 grit. Just go over this real quick, and then I'm going to take this and finish up cleaning up this end on this roof. So that's the 150 grit right there. Gives it a nice little polish. Do that to this one as well. Take them outside and hit them with their first coat of green. So looking forward to that. Right, so we have about 4 or 5, I think it's 5 coats of the Rust-Oleum Hunter Green Satin on the top of these roofs. And as you remember, that was sprayed onto the bare metal. This was the worst of the two. This was the one that was badly pitted that I had to use a little bit of JB Weld on. You can see I did miss a couple spots, but I'm not worried about it. That's fine. I can live with that. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to get the Tamiya British Green, and I am going to spray a coat of that on here. Now, since I have so many coats of the Rust-Oleum on here, I'm not really going to need to put a lot of the Tamiya stuff on. And I did that intentionally. So I wanted the good, solid, primed base done with all of the Rust-Oleum. It's cheaper, number one reason, and it's going to protect it really well. So this one here, this was the one that was a little better shape. I did sand it down a little bit with some, I believe this is 400 grit, just to take out some of the little bumps that had shown up. There weren't too many. I'm not too worried about it. But, you know, doesn't hurt to give it just a little bit of a touch-up. Especially this on this side here, there was quite a big cluster of them. I don't know what got onto the paint. But this one here also, there was some pitting that was done. A lot of it was cleaned up with the JB Weld, but I did miss a couple spots. I mean, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. I'm going to use them. I'm not doing this to do a full-on restoration and resell this stuff, so this is going to work out perfectly fine for me. So now I'm going to head outside, and I'm going to hit these with their final color. Okay, so we've got the roofs all painted now. We've got the final color on them. Again, that's the Tamiya TS9 that I used for the roofs for these Pullman cars. So there's only one. Well, and first, just to show you, this was the badly pitted one. I buffed and buffed and buffed again, sanded it down a couple times, but it's just coming up like this. It's the best I can do. I'm really not too worried about it. It's going to look great running around the track. And like I said, I'm not trying to do a full-on restoration. What I am going to do, though, right now, the roofs are done. These two cars are set and ready to go. I do have to get a center brace like this one for this car. It was missing out of this one. So I'll be looking through some junk boxes at the next train show. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these clips out, drop these wheels out, polish them off with the Dremel tool. They're not even really turning that well. Clean off the outer shell a little bit with some dish soap and toothbrush, scrubbing that out. And then we're going to throw these on the track. First, I want to show you guys, this is a quick way that I use to get these little clips off. You can push them and all kinds, like just try to jam them in there and push them out this way. You end up scratching the floor of this or the floor of a tender or wherever else has these clips. So what I do is I put these 2 screwdrivers in either side here and I twist them apart like this. And that twisting action is actually going to open up this clip just like that, and then you can easily pop it out without doing a whole lot of damage to the floor of the car. Now, I also keep some of these as spares because over time, if they have been removed a few times, they will just break. So I'm not too worried if I split them. I'm really more concerned about making a huge mess of the floor of this car. We've got the rollers off. That's awesome. So now I can really get to them. To get these wheels out, it's just a matter of pulling the sides open and popping them out. So you can do that right here. And because they've got this bracket on the one side, I tend to take one wheel out first, like so, without stabbing my finger. There we go. Slide the one end out. Sometimes the axle will come out and then the second wheel pops off too. So we'll do that on this side as well. And then it's just the reverse to get them back in. We'll clean out some of these spider houses too. So I am going to finish disassembling these trucks, and I'm going to get the Dremel tool out, start buffing them off, and then I'm going to clean off the shell for the car itself, and then we're going to throw these back on the track and send them around in style. And I think I'm going to use my 1666 to do this. Alright, so put the Dremel wheel to these trucks and the wheels, and they've come around quite nicely actually. They're a big difference from what they originally were. Maybe a couple more hits with the Dremel in some areas, and maybe some really high grit sandpaper to take some of the stuff out that the Dremel tool couldn't reach. The wheels, huge difference. They look fantastic. So I'm just going to finish up with the axles. We're going to put some grease on the axles, put this all back together, and then we're just going to wash this down with some Palmolive dish soap, warm water, and a scrub brush, and we're going to get this back on the track. So let's finish it up. Reconditioned, beautiful, smart-looking Pullman pre-war cars that I got for $10 for all three. Including the price of the paint, we're looking at about, I think, $30 worth of paint. Didn't have to buy any new parts for these at all. So the only extra thing I think I'm going to look for is the actual support that goes in this car here that the screw mounts into. So once again, I'll be on the lookout for some rusted out pre-war, or even some of the early post-war cars look like this, just to get that little piece out of there, just so this roof will be a little more sturdy on the car itself. The only thing left to do now is get them on the track and get them rolling around for the first time in a long time. So let's get over there and do that. And here we are, back on the tracks. We've got our freshly rejuvenated pre-war Pullman cars all ready to go. We've got them hooked up to the 1666. And kind of the whole reason really that I bought these cars in the first place was because of this tender. It has the pre-war coupler on it. And I had no other cars with that matching coupler, so when I found these Pullmans sitting there, they may have been rusty, but for $10 I thought at least I got something for this tender to pull. Having said that, let's get everything moving. So there we have it, guys. Rejuvenated pre-war Lionel Pullman 2640, 2640, and 2641. Looking sharp on the track. May not be the most beautiful paint job that I've done, but it is what it is. For $10 for this set, $40 worth of paint, I am very happy with what I got. You know, don't be afraid. If you see something rusty at a train show and it's a decent price, there might be something really good underneath for a really good price. Just give it a chance. A little bit of elbow grease, and you can have a nice set just like this for your own personal collection. You know, I don't have to worry about when the kiddo plays with it, if maybe one of them falls off the track or something. Doesn't matter. These aren't museum quality pieces. So, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Don't forget to do all of the YouTube stuff. Hit the like, hit the notification bell. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. If you are, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support and you guys tuning in every time I post up a new video. So, until the next one, thanks for watching, guys.